this video, or even comment on this video. That will help other people find my channel easier when searching for ASMR content to watch. So that really, I'm not kidding, helps me beat that YouTube algorithm. So I appreciate all of the love that you all do send our way here. Also, if you are not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and even the notification bell, because that also really helps me out as well. So thank you all in advance, and let's dive into today's true crime case. Also, you might hear my stomach grumbling. I hope not, but it has been making some noise today, so let's see if I can make it through this video here. Alright, so today we are discussing the disappearance of Derrick Engebretson. So Derrick Engebretson was born on July the 5th in the year 1990. Derrick's parents were Robert and Lori Engebretson, and they all grew up in Klamath Falls, Oregon. Klamath Falls is about 4 hours and 45 minutes southeast of Portland, Oregon. Growing up, Derrick was often outside, and he spent quite a bit of time out in nature. When Derrick was just a week old, Lori ended up taking him out in a pack to go on a hunting trip, and so as he grew up, he went hunting even more and more frequently and was very accustomed to the elements, especially since obviously he's in Oregon and there is so much beautiful land and parks surrounding the whole state there. In December of the year 1998, Derrick was 8 years old. On December the 5th, still in the year 1998, Derrick went to Pelican Butte with his father, Robert, and his grandfather, Bob. Their goal that day was to find a Christmas tree to chop down and bring back home. Pelican Butte is in the Winema National Forest and is about an hour and a half away from Klamath Falls. The group got to Pelican Butte just after 2 p.m. on the 5th, and Robert told Bob that they would not be able to stay super long, as it got dark fairly early in the area since it was very mountainous. I believe it was around 3 in the afternoon when, it would kind of start to get darker and darker, and the sun would be usually set by like 4 on this day. So Bob, who was driving, pulled off the road around mile marker 12, and the 2 men got out of the car. Robert helped Derrick get out and put him into his snowsuit before the 3 took off into the forest nearby. Robert was on a mission to find a Christmas tree, and he began climbing the mountain that was there faster than Bob and Derrick. At the time, Derrick had his own hatchet, and he was kind of messing around a lot, just chopping at some small branches and small trees. As Robert went ahead to find the Christmas tree, he shouted back to Derrick and told him to stay with his grandfather, Bob. but I still believed, that Bob was able to see Robert. Like, he truly was not that far ahead of them at all. So Bob agreed with Derrick's request and watched him kind of go up the hill further towards his dad. At this point in time, snow had begun to fall gently, and the group continued to look for a tree. Around 3 p.m., as it was beginning to start to get dark in the area, Bob and Robert met up again. Robert kind of came back down the hill after finding the tree. Bob noticed that Derrick was not behind Robert as he assumed he should be, and he asked Robert where Derrick was located. Robert had assumed that Derrick was still with Bob, and it was at this point in time that the two men realized Derrick was missing. Robert said that Derrick had never caught up with him, and he had not ended up seeing his son after he told him to stay back with his grandfather. Robert went back up the hill as fast as he could to see if Derrick had somehow gotten lost and wandered away from the two of them, but he was unable to find anything. Both Bob and Robert began looking in the immediate area, shouting for Derrick. However, there was no response at all. At 4:13 p.m., Robert flagged down someone who was driving on the road in the area, and Robert told the driver that his son was missing. He asked the driver if they could drive to a resort, which was only 2 miles further down the road, and place a call to 911 for him. The driver agreed and phoned 911 after reaching the resort, and law enforcement went out to the area where Derrick was last seen. Now, it took law enforcement a little bit of time to get out there. I believe it wasn't until about 9 o'clock before they arrived, as they had been celebrating at a Christmas party, and the 911 operator had assumed that Derrick would possibly have been found by this point in time. But law enforcement went out to the area where Derrick was last seen. At this point in time, since it had been so long and it was dark and a pretty treacherous the shelter right there, so it did not appear as though he made this. And then police began to wonder, was someone else possibly in the area along with Bob and Robert where Derrick was last seen? So after finding the shelter, police also found a few small footprints in the area where Derrick was last seen, and police managed to follow these footprints to a clearing near the road further down from where Bob and Robert had parked their car. Once at the clearing, the police found a snow angel beneath a tree, and it is believed that Derrick created the snow angel himself. There were also a few pieces of chopped wood, just some small pieces, nearby the snow angel. And if you remember, Derrick did have that little tiny hatchet with him when he was last seen, so the police believed that he most likely chopped up these pieces of wood as well. The police then saw that there were footprints leading away from the snow angel. However, the footprints led to the road, which unfortunately had already been cleared by a snow plow because it was snowing and a blizzard was expected later on that night. The police searched the other side of the road and around the whole area. However, no more footprints belonging to Derrick were ever found. The dogs were brought in again, and they were able to track Derrick's scent to the road. But after this, they were unable to pick it back up. Derrick's family began to believe that he was possibly abducted out of the area. However, law enforcement did not believe that to be the case at all. Later that night, a blizzard hit the area of Pelican Butte, which hampered all search efforts. Derrick's parents on the first night continued to search, and even spent about 2 weeks camped out in a camper where the snow angel and Derrick's last footprints had been spotted, with the hopes that Derrick would come back to the area and see the camper and find his family. After 8 days of searching, the Klamath County Police stopped searching for Derrick, as they believed he had succumbed to the elements. Derrick's family continued searching and began to believe that he was most likely picked up by a stranger, since those tracks were never found anywhere else. Now, it is possible that Derrick had continued to just walk down the road, and his tracks picked up elsewhere further down the road, but just were unable to be found since the snow plow had been through the area, and also because the blizzard happened and it snowed more, covering his tracks. Derrick's family never lost hope, though, and they continued to search for Derrick for even the next week after the initial search had been called off. Then every weekend for the next 2 years, Lori and Robert would search the mountainous area looking for their son. At one point in time, a witness came forward and claimed to have seen an unknown man struggling with a boy in the area it is truly believed